My name is Lindsay Lee Hobson, and I work with forward-thinking organisations to elevate their emerging leaders and create the ultimate next generation of leadership. I'm also the founder of the Learning and Development Collective, and we're here today with the incredible Danica Daley from Youi Insurance. Welcome back to the studio, Danica.
Thank you, Lindsay.
Oh my gosh, I'm so happy that you're here for multiple reasons. You always make me laugh and giggle, but you're also an incredibly amazing facilitator who is so good at making things fun and engaging, which is actually what we're here to talk about today.
Cool. Yes, I am super excited to have a chat today about the subject around gamification as well. It's something I am very, very passionate about.
Yes, absolutely. And you know so much about it too. I mean, you joined us just last week for a session in the Learning and Development Evolution, which is a program in the metaverse we run here at the Collective to support the career development of L&D professionals all over the world. And I sit in on those sessions and we learn so much from you on a topic which can be really polarizing. Gamification is one of those things for a lot of our members. It's, does it work? Doesn't it work? But some of the things you shared were really insightful and sparked lots of thoughts, even for me as a facilitator, which is incredible. But tell us a little bit, for those who aren't part of the evolution, aren't members, about what gamification is and how you use it in your day-to-day facilitations.
So I guess, put simply, gamification is the art or the practice of turning your learning pieces and the stuff that you need to facilitate into a game. So it's as simple as it sounds in some respects, more difficult in others. But I guess the benefits, and especially for me in an industry, that's heavily regulated, heavily compliance-based, and there's a lot of very granular, nitty-gritty training. We want to make sure that we're always keeping our employees actively engaged. We're coming up with new and innovative ways to do that. So gamification is a massive thing for us because it really just helps keep everyone engaged, keep them active in the learning and wanting to learn more. I think the big takeaway for me from the forum as well with everyone that was in the roundtable metaverse last week was that most of us are in these industries where we are under some kind of regulative body. We've got a lot of compliance issues for different industries and stuff like that. And a lot of training that by all intensive purposes comes across as boring and very obligatory. So that's where I really think there's a lot of power in gamifying some of that stuff to really just kind of keep your employees engaged with stuff that otherwise, is going to really be a piece that you're going to struggle to get across in your business.
Yeah, absolutely. And it was so interesting as well, listening to some of the members' challenges with it, which you're like, yeah, I've been there, I've had those experiences. And especially at this time of the year where a lot of L&D professionals just in general are looking at what's happening next year and trying to squeeze the maximum results out of the smallest budget possible, and how that's going to be part. And gamification is actually amazing for that. And I didn't actually know this until you were joining us at the conference in the metaverse that we had, the first one, and all our results and surveys were coming back because it was fun, and why that is so important to actual results. But if you could tell us a little bit about that would be amazing.
Yes, I guess, the original conference in the metaverse was the perfect example about just putting something in a different platform, making something fun. And even with what I was presenting in that conference, I had gamified my presentation. There was a quiz embedded into, like a little pop quiz embedded into what I was talking about for virtual and hybrid training. And I think that was part of the reason why our presentation was so successful. So I definitely think because there's been such a need for virtual training as well, and that's still such a roadblock for a lot of organizations, that's really also another aspect that gamification comes in so handy, because a lot of people are still really struggling with this virtual, learning space that we're now sort of in post-pandemic. Post-ish pandemic. And by being able to really gamify a lot of those sessions, you take people away from feeling like they're just staring at a computer screen, for however many hours a day, where they're actually now doing something interactive, doing something fun. And, all of the science, we all know the science that goes behind it, that when we're, actively engaging and having fun, it's going to fire off those neurotransmitters in our brain, release the dopamine that create all of those strong positive emotions. If we create something a little bit competitive, it's going to give people that rush of dopamine as well when they win. There's that reward effect, and all of the studies that link up those effects to actually remembering the content as well. So it's a really powerful tool in that sense too.
Yes, absolutely. And there was a challenge for a few of our members, not anymore since your session, but I'm sure that's something that a lot of L&D professionals are experiencing out there. We talk about gamification, we talk about it being beneficial, but what are some examples of actually putting it into practice? Like, does it have to be hard? Does it have to be a big deal, or can you just do it nice and easily?
I mean, the great thing with this, like a lot of things in L&D space, is you have really cool things that you can do with a quite low investment of your energy and preparation. And then, I mean, you can sort of go into those bigger tasks where you're really creating something new yourself. The internet is a glorious place and there's so many resources available. I think probably one of the most famous ones nowadays is Kahoot. Kahoot is even used in schools these days, as well as through so many organizations. So the popularity of that, I think since the pandemic even as well, has skyrocketed. And Kahoot is a simple online platform you can access, and you can create your quiz with your content, multiple choice answers, and then the competitive factor is based on accuracy as well as speed. So whoever's answering the fastest. So that one is super easy to do. You can whip up a Kahoot quiz in 10 minutes and people love a Kahoot. I never see trainees get so excited as when I say, all right, now guys, we're going to do a Kahoot. Everyone instantly is on the edge of their seats, you know that they're really gunning for that top spot, which means they're really kind of pulling in what have I remembered from maybe the session I've just done. So it's definitely not something where you need to have a high investment. There's a lot of cool resources like that can be really quick and easy to effectively impart into your facilitation, into your training, to kind of create that engaging session.
Yeah, love it. And what about the non-technical ways you can implement gamification? I mean, I remember back in one of my places of employment, we had a Buzz Lightyear statue, and if you won Employee of the Month, you would put it on your desk. And we were all fighting for the Buzz Lightyear statue. And that was just something nice and simple like that. What are your ideas and tips for L&D professionals who maybe aren't doing something so technical that involves technology? It could be an in-person type of scenario, because I hear they still happen.
I mean, that was something we did talk about as well. And I'll be honest, it did throw me for a little bit, because so much of what I do is online now. We still do a lot of in-person sessions, but I guess there's just a lot of technology involved in my space. But the really cool thing is as well, when I thought about it, is that we have actually even created stuff that doesn't actually rely on heavy technology. It doesn't rely on your users having smartphones or even computer access. There's really cool ways that, like your Buzz Lightyear statue, again, there's that, chasing reward effect that releases that dopamine, releases that human emotion. Super easy to do. So if you think about any kind of game show from growing up, or, reality shows on TV, that you can kind of mimic those kind of question answer style things, and even create those in-person tasks or sessions or little mini gamified versions of your training. It's a really great way to get people involved in person too. The really great effect of that, once you put people in groups, you're going to have, increased connections with people that might not interact elsewhere in the company, that are helping them kind of create a new network and everything as well. So there's heaps of stuff you can do in person that doesn't rely on those, technical resources, but that's where it comes down to you being a little bit more innovative in what you create.
Yes, yeah, and I think that's a really good point, I think, that you've touched on inadvertently there, Danica, which is when you're looking to make your content more gamified or more fun, even just more interactive, and looking to actually use those innovative skills to make it a little bit more that way. How do you personally get started? And I think you touched on some ideas just before, talking about game shows and things, tools that you can fall back on in those moments. But what are the questions you ask yourself, or the resources you go to when you're looking at a training that you're putting together and you're like, this needs something. It just needs extra something.
To take it back to basics, if I'm ever formulating a training, the very first thing and the main objective is, what is my learner outcome from this? What does my learner need to walk away from this session having ingrained? What level of knowledge do they need? And then it's, how am I going to impart that? So I think even with gamification, by making sure you really keep your learner objectives at the forefront of mind when you're creating your content, everything's going to come off the back of that. So once you've got your learner objectives, then you can really go into that, instructional design process in terms of how you're going to deliver it, because you've got that end goal in mind. It's kind of like going from the top and working backwards almost. that's how it works in my head. But I think that's how it's most effective, because then, if you try and start to create something just for the purpose of gamifying it and you're not clear on what your learner objective is, then you might have an engaging session, but you might not actually end up teaching what you needed to teach in the first place.
Yes, actually, that's incredibly valuable, because I know for a lot of L&D professionals out there that I've spoken with over the last sort of 6 to 12 months, gamification is almost this nominalization. It's like, what is it? How do we, it's very, we need to demystify it almost. And some of what you've just shared then really helps to do that, because it's become such a big thing. It's like the metaverse. What is it? Why do we do? It's almost like that. So just by taking it exactly as you said, what's your outcome, and then work backwards, we can help to implement gamification in our trainings, which is just so incredibly valuable. Danica, thank you so much for joining us again in the evolution, again in the metaverse as well, and just giving your knowledge and your wisdom so freely. You know so much about this stuff, and your trainings are always so much fun. I'm always laughing, I'm always learning a lot, and it just shows that you really do practice what you preach. So we couldn't be more grateful for having you as a forum member, but also having you willing to share your expertise so much with us all. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Lindsay. It is genuinely always such a joy working with you and getting to be in these sessions as well. I love anything in the metaverse for this exact reason. It's always fun, it's always engaging, and it's always a great chance for me too. So I love getting to be able to share what I do, hopefully help some other people.
Thank you very much. It definitely helps other people, 100%. So thank you once again. And if you're watching this and you're a forum member, or you're just an L&D professional and you're looking for some career development support, especially as we head into the new year, feel free to reach out and let me know. This is a little bit different. It's a little bit outside of the box, but the evolution is helping our members in more ways than one with what they're looking to achieve in their business and as a professional. So make sure you reach out. There'll be a link somewhere around this or a directive to do so. Thank you once again, Danica, and everybody. See you in the next session.